one observational awareness blog. And the title actually comes from a conversation at one of the last coffee breaks. Someone, I think, with Stephen Pemberton, and we agreed that I first should submit something and it should be about structure, and we agreed on the title to be structure exclamation mark, and then look for what to actually do with it. So I identify myself as maybe a document engineer and a writing researcher, and I will talk about natural language text documents and the tools involved and the practices involved. So I'm interested in writing technology. I will not show any brackets also, but talk about technology and how to use it and what to use it for, and then trends and my goal. So it's about tools, word processors and editors, and practices, word processing and editing, and then the document finally produced, how to distribute, display it, use it, etc. So for a brief look back, when we first talk about creating documents, and I speak about natural language text documents, we have the editors in the 1960s coming from the need for programmers. So the development comes from universities and companies to allow programmers to code and also to write text, and then the observation came that code actually is text, or text is actually code. So but you have these big machines and you have a keyboard somehow, and you will write. And then in the 1970s, computers actually got integrated into offices, so the machines became much smaller. And this development was initiated by IBM, who then at that time conquered the office and offered support for spreadsheet calculation. That was the main task then, and also then document creation. And from that time, we have terms and concepts like office automation, word processor, and word processing. And also, actually, since the 1970s, we are straightforward to the paperless office. So at that time, the word processor is a physical machine, not the program, but a physical machine. And the first developments of software for smaller things than the big mainframes. So developments for microcomputers, these were programs like electric pencil. That's one of those. And the term word processor and word processing actually is owned by IBM. It's a concept from roughly 1955 by the German IBM typewriter sales executive, who had the idea that when you can process data, then you can, of course, also
we can't hear you. Yeah, I can see that. This is the reason why we prefer in-person conferences. So, okay, I will try to reconnect as well. Okay. Yeah, so you dropped for a moment, but you are now back online. So.
Okay, and I'm concluding with with your camera.
Yeah.
Okay, I think
you should start sharing your screen as well, because we don't see your slides now.
So
perfect.
This should be up again.
Yeah, everything is great. So please continue.
So the spread comes from the observation that you have either the text or data or text and data and process it and write it and think about it and produce documents. And he proposed the concept of word processing in analogy to data processing. And this went into advertisement and actually being used by IBM only in 1970, at the time when they replaced the electric typewriter division by the office products division, and then they actually had word processing. So I skipped this advertisement word here. The idea was to turn writing into something comparable in terms of automation or mechanization, like the automobile branch with assembly lines. That's a weird concept, but that in the 1970s were weird times. And then in the 80s, you probably recognize the two screenshots from the two worlds of personal computers. One rather text-based at that time, that's MS-DOS, the right one, and the left one is Apple, and that's a screenshot of Macworld for Apple. And if you look at the screen or the design, then the form of the visual of this application window is still very similar to what we have today in all kinds of writing tools on applications. So in the 80s, writing tools, word processors became via the PC to the general public. And also at that time, we can observe two developments. One is that a movement from having explicit expert and expertise and explicit firms who did publishing to the desktop publishing and allowing this for almost everybody to be your own publisher, to be your own typesetter, to be your own layout. And we have these desktop publishing programs, PageMaker, QuantExpress, FrameMaker. Some are still around, but most of them not. And the other concept from this time is WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get. And this came from the need or user demands that when you write a document or write a text, you would like to see how it looks like as a final document, and the final document was most of the time the printed page. So you wanted to see how this would look like on the printed page in either A4 or letter form. And it's of course much too costly to print every intermediate draft and have a look if this is now better or if it fits on one page, etc. So there was a demand to have this view, this final or this target view on your screen, and also be able to edit in this view. And this is what you see is what you get, and what you get would always refer to the printed page or a printable page, so for a PDF. And we also have this concept of what you see is what you get later in editors intended for web pages, where of course the intended final product or final document is not a printed page but a web page, but also for rather fixed dimensions and for the screen. And also this is not the WYSIWYG for web pages is not such demanded today. In the 1990s, we can also observe a certain process of standardization. So this screenshot is from Microsoft Word at the time where they had the buttons in the 3D shape. So you can easily see which of the buttons have been pushed, which are available at all, and you have this WYSIWYG screen. In the 1990s, Microsoft Word became the de facto standard, and for two lines, one for the user interface. So later on, when when we see content management systems and especially learning management systems in the early 2000s, and any place where you would integrate an editor and offer people to edit something, when we were the developer to implement such an editor into another system, then the very first demand and requirement from users was, please make it that it looks like, it feels like Microsoft Word, so users will be comfortable using it. So we have this de facto standard for the user interface, and we also have a de facto standard for the file format. And the talk before by David also said that the supported format is docx and Google Docs. So the Microsoft Word standard file format still is a de facto standard. And at that time, Word Perfect disappeared mostly due to marketing reasons. We also then see other developments to have free and open software, but also these developments and also Google Docs, when they started, one aim was for the user interface to make it look like the standard, to make it look like Microsoft Word. It just was this way. And all of them were WYSIWYG, so what you see is what you get. You will edit in a view that resembles the page or pages that you will be able to then print. Most of you, I think, also remember these times where Microsoft Word actually listened to users and added functionalities and menus, etc. Which resulted, and that's my focus here, which resulted in the place or the space actually available for writing the text as a writer became smaller and smaller. Everything was occupied by menu bars. In the 2000s, when the web appeared and the internet and open source programs, then Google Docs has been developed originally by a small program from a few developers. Then they bought additional programs, and one main feature was that the export was possible in Microsoft Word format. And the same goes for LibreOffice, so there's a whole interesting buying and releasing story behind LibreOffice, which started out as StarOffice. And also LibreOffice is able, of course, to export files in Microsoft Word format. Why is this? Because most of the actors who receive these documents, publishing houses, when you submit something as a student somewhere or for a conference or for a journal, one required or even demanded format is please submit in Microsoft Word format. So you have to be able to produce something in Microsoft Word format. For these two, you were able to produce Microsoft Word and Microsoft Word format file, but not using Microsoft Word. And then came the 2010s with even more applications in the cloud, on the internet. Google Docs became an established collaborative tool, always accessible. Microsoft tried to keep the pace, is in the cloud rather late and of course not free. But the main important point here is that even as already in the 2010s, we can observe the appearance of so-called non-destructive editors. And the one I'm showing on the right is IA Writer, which is around, I think, since 2011 or 10. It's advertised as non-destructive and focusing, letting the writer focus only on the text. So everything is either non-existent or it is possible to move it into the background. So you have your actual application window is only the place where you write. And this trend becomes stronger in the 2020s. You can summarize it as, I don't care about tools, just let me write, and of course WYSIWYG does not matter. And one reason is that people have, so we see new tools or applications allowing people to input text, put it this way, and manipulate text from notes to more elaborate documents. And if there's a need to submit this or to forward this text to somewhere else or someone else in a certain format, then we today have very comfortable either an export function or programs like Pandoc allowing to format the original file or the original format of my application into the desired format for submission. So I actually am no longer forced to use Microsoft Word or Google Docs to produce a Microsoft Word document file in the end. And what we also see, and this is growing stronger, that the editors have optimized versions for computers, either desktop or laptop or smartphone or tablet. I'm not sure about smart watches, but maybe this is also possible for different operation systems, etc. So, and as of course everything is living in the cloud, you are able to write and edit and revise a document from any interface you have, or all the way down. And what we see also, and what supports this development, is new or better input options. Dictation is becoming better and better. Scanning and OCR is becoming better and better. We have virtual keyboards with funny arrangements for one-handed use or two-thumb use or one-thumb use, etc. So it's possible for me as a writer to find the best suitable application to write text. So what's about the documents? I have to display or distribute not the text, but the document somehow. But then we have for electronic or online documents, we have of course responsive design. So your document adapts to the size and the resolution of your screen. When you look at academic publishing, journals tend to publish, of course, online first and maybe online only. So there is you are not requested to please have your graphics or graphs or plots in a certain size or format. It is just, it's there and it's zoomable, or it's displayed as such, so there's automatic fitting of these non-textual media. And what's also important, there is not only one single target format for your text. So you write text, but it's a bit like single source publishing. It might be printed on various formats. It might be visible on large screen, small screens, with integrated graphs or videos, etc. So that's all possible. And I, as a writer, I don't have to care about what it's done. I have to write, and maybe, so that's, I write on my iPad, maybe I want to see in the immediate step how this would look like in default rendering, and I'm able to do this. And this is the view on the left with syntax highlighting turned on for adjectives, verbs, and conjunctions, and on the right it's a portrait mode with a virtual keyboard, and the focus is on one sentence. So I only see the text, and with only markdown declaration. That's the same text on my laptop, and then I write, and in the end I have a makefile and can render it into any desired format. And if I have someone who's taking care of my XMLP file, then of course all the web items look like they should look. So, but that's not the problem of writing the text. That's processing or post-processing. I take care of this later. And what I think, what we see with the possibilities or the easiness to implement writing applications, there is again, or this a separation of content and form. So as a writer, I'm not so much concerned with the document structure, but with the text structure. So the writing technology allows me to write text. Of course, I have a structure that I have paragraphs, I have headings, subheadings, sections, I have references, I have images, but during writing, I'm not caring that much about the final document or one of the possible final documents. I'm able to render and distribute this text as a document in various formats using various tools, or giving this just someone else, somewhere else, and then it's taken care of for me. And with this separation between document and text, I'm also able to allow for yet unknown document formats, which I'm not aware of and someone else might come up with. And from the document engineering point of view, that's the observation. There is no one single target document format for writers. There's of course dynamic rendering possible and necessary, and I can split these two tasks. I can allow for some default rendering, default size, default font, default color, etc., to give the writer the opportunity to have a look how it might look. That's not the one and only single final document to distribute. So one conclusion would be that during writing, and for writers, human writers, the document structure becomes less important than text structure. That would be my claim, and the applications we have allow for this view. In a visual format that, of course, we have structure in a document, the final document has structure, and someone has to implement and come up with a solution for how to render and how to produce this document structure. But for me as a writer, that's not the important point. I care about the text structure. That would be on the right side. I work with this text, and then I care for the document, or I get feedback on the document. I order a different document, but the text, I'm working with the text. That would be my contribution to XMLPrague, to the view for writers and writing technology, allowing to writers to focus on content and being sure that something nice will be produced by someone else or something else.
Thank you very much, Cerstin. Have you heard applause from the auditorium? That's cool, because I'm not sure how much you hear from us. So we still have time for questions. Okay, so it seems that, so Ken first, and then Stephen.
I don't quite know how to ask my question, which is why I was hesitating until no one else raised their hand. And that is, you've been given a task to write. Don't you have in your mind's eye a structure that you want to follow? Or where do things begin? You've been given a task to write. It's not just a bunch of paragraphs, is it?
No, I have that's true. I have structure. I have the idea of sections and subsections. But if this in the document is blue and the size is of that's not my concern.
Okay, so you have in mind a structure. Now you have a blank page in front of you, and you want to focus on the writing. By entering a short line of text and then beginning a new paragraph, does that imply that's a section heading? because I'm going to be responsible for taking your text and making a document out of it. So I don't know what I'm going to do with. I want to support you as a writer, but I don't know what I'm going to get from you.
I try to share my screen differently. So you should see now my AI work. That's actually how I write. I mean that's Markdown.
Oh, you are using Markdown. Okay, I missed that. Okay.
So I have this structure roughly, and I have a preview button, which renders a default. It's a default font, default size, and the sections are numbered. So I can see, but I have no, as you can see, I have no page breaks.
Oh, yeah, no, that's fine. I think you've answered, I guess I skipped over the Markdown that is, are the clues that I'm going to use, use to give you your...
Otherwise than this, I would, I mean, and that's also a habit I have anyway to split paragraphs by...
Oh, yeah, okay.
By a blank line.
Well, and thank you for the nostalgia part of your presentation.
So that's minimal declaration, but that's very simple Markdown and reference in this way, and then somehow this will be resolved. But my makefile is controlling this.
Okay, thanks. There is another question from Stephen.
So I was kind of shocked when I saw the bit where you said WYSIWYG doesn't matter anymore. Because I'm aware of research that examined the difference in the texts produced using different, let's say, modalities. So it was pencil on paper or pen on paper, it was word processing, and it was WYSIWYG. And the results that came out of that research said that pencil produced high quality but a smaller amount of text. Word processing produced much more text but of a lower quality, and WYSIWYG produced more text and of a higher quality. So it seems to me that it's not enough just to say, well, what's important is to observe the fact that the modality that you write in can affect the quality and the amount. When I read that research, I immediately moved my diary to a WYSIWYG processor on a computer rather than writing it by hand. You know.
Yes, of course. Pen and paper allow different revising strategies only, because you always leave a trace, and if I do this here, there's no trace that I actually did something. So there's this difference that has been explored. The point is, you can have this, of course you can have this, I'm not taking WYSIWYG away from anybody, but there is not that the printed page where WYSIWYG came from, the printed page is no longer the main target document format. There might be the printable page, but most of the text is suited to, I don't know how many pages I have, I don't know about the size, I don't know where the footnotes go. So I, as a writer, I have no clear indication of what's happening. We wrote at my institute or department, we wrote a textbook. We got a fairly structured document as style, in Word and everything had to fit on this page with these margins and this etc. So every section should go into exactly one page. And of course, when the book was printed, this design hadn't been used. So the page breaks were at a very different size, and this put a lot of pressure on us authors. Maybe we would have been freed getting the actual layout, but I'm not sure about this. Having a different requirement like length of text, that's something else than having a length of text or number of sentences, number of words compared to please make sure that it exactly fits into this one page, because in the end this page layout might change and I'm not able to control anything about this. WYSIWYG has an effect, but it only holds if the actual final, the only final output is the page I'm targeting, and that's not necessarily that's not vanishing, but that's losing ground.
Okay, there is another question or comment from Mike.
Hello, when I'm writing, I feel there's a discontinuity between writing one-dimensional text, where you can just keep typing and it doesn't matter too much what happens and you can leave the system to sort it out. And as soon as you get into 2 dimensions, when you start having tables, it becomes much more important what technology you're using, and there's then a relationship of the tools you're using to the visible layout of what you're producing that's quite different. Have you any comment on editing tables?
The table, what I'm presenting here, table is in this sense a non-textual element. So this has been this is structured, of course, and I want to show this in a specific size and layout. This name goes plots, and I want to make sure that this appears exactly as I designed it. And there of course is a mixture then. And then it depends on if in the final document, if this table then has to be maybe rotated to fit on the final size, or if it is very small and I have to zoom in if I'm living in the digital representation, or if I say, okay, this cannot be printed, so please, dear author, produce something printable. But from the very beginning, so there is this mixture of elements.
Okay, and we have time for last question from Tobias.
Yeah, hello. Your talk seems to start on the assumption that when you're writing a text, you really have to write it once, on the idea of cross-media or single-source publishing, and the text will stay the same for every channel. But we see more and more that you really have to rewrite the text for social media, restructuring the text for web publishing and all that. How does this go together with your talk?
First, you also have this with dynamic documents or living documents. I'm also referring to the observation that the text will change because there are new developments. You have this text that you consume at that moment that you look at it, and it might have changed, it might have been extended, it might have been reduced, it might have something has been skipped or commented. So this also goes for me under the term dynamic or living documents, and because your text is changing. These applications, and you also see the GitHub used for non-programming tasks. So people do just ordinary, they do their websites with GitHub, they do their websites with wiki software, and you can change it easily, your document adapts. You just change content. So this is, I think this fits with this observation. And we somehow, in this respect, we somehow see maybe a similar use of tools not intended to produce documents or not intended to produce ordinary personal websites. When we look at things like Wiki or Wiki style things or GitHub representation, which have been produced to, or originally were thought to support programmers, but not people showing their application photo gallery or something like this. So it's today it's very easy to use it for something else.
Okay, thank you very much. So thank you again. And you have very nice T-shirt, by the way. Okay, so thank you very much again, and we will disconnect you. Sorry about that. Bye-bye. Okay, so this was last session, but we are not finished today. There will be a social dinner, and part of this dinner will be Demo Jam. Is there anything about Demo Jam which Mohammed would like to repeat?
Yes, so there is few slots left, so if there is still people that want to engage for Demo Jam, I just recall the rules. Demo Jam is you come with your name and an idea, a presentation. It should involve a screen, but maybe we can relax the rules, I don't know. And it's supposed to be, I think it's 600 seconds, so it's 5 minutes in UTC time. Sorry, but 300. Yeah. Don't listen to me. I say bullshit all the time. So everybody knows that. So that's the, and it happens at some moment during the night. So you have to be sober, well, or not. We don't care. So see you later.
Yes, so the dinner will take place in the same location as in the past. Is there anyone who doesn't have been there before or doesn't have anybody who can? Okay, so just raise your hand and other people just get those people and carry them to the location or follow the crowd. Okay, and there is also on the registration desk there are papers with the map and location information, so it should be easy for you to get. It's a question or? It's a question. Okay.
Where will we be tomorrow?
You mean the room? Yeah, we will be here tomorrow, starting at 9:30. Please don't come earlier than 9 o'clock. And the dinner is from 7 o'clock. Oh.
So tomorrow, just the meetup, which meetup do we have? So just to recall.
Yeah, so tomorrow in the morning there will be Schematron's users meetup. And in afternoon, after lunch, there will be XML tutorial. And then after the coffee break, there will be Saxonica users meetup. Name of what? Just grab the paper on the registration desk, because I don't know. Because it's the same location as MAS, but it changed name, so I don't know the new name. Okay? Tomorrow we will be in the same room as today, this room. But you can change the chair if you wish. Okay, any more questions? So see you in less than 2 hours.